morning and good night. I hope everyone's doing well today. Today, I kind of thought I would be doing a different video, so I'm going to be reviewing the regular warbond, Helldivers Mobilize. This is the free warbond that you get as soon as you start out the game. First thing you get immediately as soon as you learn it is this. This is going to be the thing you're grinding through. This is going to be the thing you're working on, all of that stuff. So here's the thing about the regular warbond is a lot of the weapons, from what I've been able to tell, are based off of the regular versions in here, and off of the regular versions that you have automatically unlocked, such as the Liberator, which is the starting AR, or the one marksman rifle. So a lot of the stuff in this warbond is going to be the cause for a lot of other weapons to be based off of. Now, as you can see, I do not have, technically speaking, every single thing unlocked. I don't have the player cards or some of the other things, but I do have gameplay of all of these. I won't be able to show it because I'm not able to actually edit that in, but I have gameplay with everything. I have a decent amount of time on every single one of these weapons, and a decent amount of time with all these armor sets, and friends who've played with all the armor sets. So I have different feedback for everything. So that's basically how I'm going to be basing everything, is off of how exactly I know these things have worked out for me in the past and how they've worked out for my friends in the past. So starting off on page 1, we've got the regular frag grenade. This is alright. Medium armor pen, it's explosive. I'm pretty sure that this one is one of the better ones. Maybe the reason I say that is due to the fact that's 500 damage. It's medium armor pen though, so you can't really use it against like hulks or things like that, which you wouldn't really use it on anyways. But it's really good. It's easy to throw. Simple. The fuse time isn't too short to the point where you can't sit there and aim it for a second while you're holding down the right trigger. Whatever the mouse button is that you use to get ready to throw it. So it's pretty simple, pretty easy. Just basic grenade. Really simple. Really at least solid. Infiltrator. The 70 armor rating is really good. The speed and stamina regen is obviously lower since it's got the higher armor rating, but the extra armor is somewhat noticeable. I can't guarantee that it's like the most noticeable thing ever. Like you aren't necessarily going to be able to tell exactly, hey, I lived there because of my 70 armor rating. You're not going to be able to tell because of that. But rather than the 50, it is pretty decent. It does mean that you're going to be a little slower on speed and a little slower in the stamina regen, but if that's a trade-off you're willing to take, then I'd recommend this armor set over a decent amount of the other light ones. Then the markers placed on the map will generate radar scans every 2 seconds. That's good if you're, especially if you're running solo, if you need those radar scans so that you can see where certain patrols are at and things of that sort, then that's really good. And the reduces range at which enemies can detect the wearer is pretty good if you're trying to stealth through certain areas. And also if you're trying to avoid certain patrols. Punisher. The Punisher. This is a hard shotgun for me to talk about because I don't necessarily have all of the experience on it that I feel like I should have. I don't know. It's got a lot of damage, so that's obviously good. It's got the rounds reload, which is good. 16 round capacity, which is amazing. Recoil, it seems like a lot, but it's not like crazy. It's a pump action shotgun, light armor pen, so it's got a decent amount of things about it that are somewhat good, but somewhat bad at the same time. It's an iffy shotgun. It's harder to talk about because it's not bad. There's a lot since a lot of the shotguns are based around this one. Since this is the first shotgun that you get in the Helldivers Mobilize Warbond, it's going to be something that a lot of the other shotguns are going to be based around. So exactly what the shotguns are going to work is based off of this one. So do I think it's bad? No. Do I feel like there's better options in this warbond especially? Yes, I do. Then obviously I'm not going to be talking about a lot of the cosmetics like the capes, the helmets, the player cards, the victory poses, anything like that. That's more at the personal preference, so I'm not really going to be talking about those. So yeah. On to page two. First thing we're going to be talking about here is the Redeemer. This is the full auto pistol. It's one-handed, obviously. It's got that really high fire rate. Like, sorry, my controller disconnected there for a second. So here's the thing: really high fire rate, which usually means really good, but that means that recoil skyrockets. It doesn't usually have a lot of recoil when you're just tap firing it or anything like that. But if you're full auto shooting this pistol, it is horrendous for you. Not to say that the pistol itself is horrendous. That 60 damage can add up since you have 31 round capacity in your mags. But since it's light armor pen and since it's got such a high fire rate, it's it's like I guess the best comparison is like the SMG-12 in R6. It's not necessarily the greatest machine pistol, but due to the fire rate, it makes up for that. But since this is light armor pen, it's not medium or heavy. That can be a turnoff for some people. I understand that completely, and a lot of people don't usually use their pistols that much, anyways, unless it's like ultimatum or a grenade pistol. So I think regular pistol wise, this is good. This is better than the starter pistol, but sorry, this is better than the starter pistol. But I feel that there can be better options depending on how exactly you go about it. Marksman. This is the first heavy armor set that you get in the regular warbond. 150, 450, 50. It doesn't have lower armor rating for the speed and stamina. It doesn't do any of that stuff. Purely, basically, what you're going to be using this for is the armor passive, which would be, the further reduced recoil when crouch your prone, then 50% resistance to explosive damage. The further reduced recoil, I feel, can be somewhat helpful. I don't think it's that good, but I feel like it can be helpful in certain situations. I feel like, if you're, running a Redeemer and you need to have good recoil control and you crouch with this armor set equipped, it's a lot easier to control and hit a lot of those shots. Is the recoil in this game as bad as some other games? God, no. But I feel like that can be helpful, but it's not really that good. The main thing you'd want to be using this for is the resistance to explosive damage. Resistance to explosive damage is really helpful because there's a lot of the damage sources, especially if you go against automatons a lot. There will be a lot of explosive sources. And so, if you're trying to use something to basically alleviate a decent amount of their, utility and a lot of their damage that they'd be getting onto you, which would be explosive, then this is good for that. If you have teammates running like the grenade launcher, or like they're running certain grenades or anything like that, then this would be good. Like certain grenades would just not be able to do anything to you since your explosive resistance is so high. So I feel like this can be a pretty decent armor set. I don't usually run heavy armor sets personally, so that's just a personal preference sort of thing. But I feel like this can be a somewhat decent armor set if used in the right hands. The Diligence. Okay, I've got some things to say here. I think this is better than the starter marksman rifle, but I feel like it can be slightly worse than the counter sniper, which we'll get on to. I think that's on page 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7. No, fucking Christ. But no, like I feel like this is a pretty decent marksman rifle. You can use it as if it was a just DMR, like you usually use the DMR for. This is amazing against automatons. Here's why. Against automatons, that 165 usually means you're going to be able to one tap to the head. 25 round capacity is really good because you can get a lot of shots off. Not a lot of recoil, pretty somewhat decent fire rate. Not good, not bad, decent. It is good against automatons if you need that really quick damage out there. You need to get headshots really fast, something like that. This can be good. Against other factions, it can be pretty decent, like Terminids, if you're trying to snipe out like certain patrols and stuff like that. It can be good. It's light armor pen though, so Here's the thing about light armor pen is that usually it's not like the greatest against certain factions. It's not the greatest against certain enemies. So if you're using this, you usually want to be using a support weapon that pairs well with it. Such as, I'd recommend like the spear gun or like some sort of thing to clear out certain groups. Since this can clear out a group, but it's not really going to be the greatest at it. It is light armor pen. It's not amazing. It's not like the best DMR by any means, but it's pretty decent starting out. Since this is going to be on the second page of the Helldivers Mobilize, this can be really good for you early on. I feel like it can be pretty much better than the starter marksman rifle, but it's kind of iffy. They're all pretty decently balanced, though, in my opinion. Okay. Here's where we get to really interesting things. Page 3. Hellpod Space Optimization. This is possibly one of the most important boosters you will unlock in the game. Here's why. First of all, this should be base kit, just so you know. That's just my opinion, but I feel like this should be base kit. I don't think that you should be needing to run a booster for this. But this is one of the most important boosters, because otherwise you start out with, I think it's 2 stims and maybe half of the regular grenade reserves that you'd have. With this, it allows you to not have to call in a resupply every single time that you spawn in, every single time that you land in, all of that stuff. You wouldn't have to worry about that. You just immediately, boom, you have full everything. It allows you to have fully stocked on grenades, on ammo, on stims, everything. It allows you to have so much better chances of surviving immediately out of the gate, purely because of the way that it is set up. It just feels genuinely so good to run because it's a quality of life change, and it is such an important one. So I feel like this is amazing. This is one of the better boosters, purely because it should be base kit, and since it's not, having to run this a lot is fine because it's that good. Now we're on to the Defender. I am slightly biased when it comes to the Defender, I will admit. I feel like the Defender is really good. I think the Defender is one of the better weapons that comes out of this regular warbond. I feel like it is one of the better usable weapons. It's got decent damage, decent capacity, decent recoil, decent fire rate. I feel like it is good. For a one-handed weapon, it is solid. For light armor, it is solid. Main thing I use this against is the Illuminate. Against the Illuminate, there's a lot of not necessarily medium armor pen, so you can use this. The fire rate is so decent, and so is the damage. So there's a lot of ways that you would just get quick kills out of nowhere with it. Like, it just feels genuinely so good to run. It's like the starter scope on it is solid. Everything about this gun is just good. Not great, not bad, but good. I think this is an amazing starter weapon. As long as you can learn how to handle the fact that it's light armor pen comparatively to medium or heavy armor pen, then you can use this for a lot of stuff. I feel like you can use it against the other factions pretty well too. If you truly learn how to use it properly, this can be good against every faction. On to the Trench Engineer. Now, this is a medium armor set, and it is 100 armor rating, 500 speed, 100 stamina region. So, here's the thing about the Trench Engineer, is since it's a medium armor rating, it's right between the buffs you get from heavy and right between the nerfs you get to like armor rating for light. I think it's a pretty solid armor archetype overall. I just don't like heavy. That's my main thing. I don't necessarily mind heavy, but I don't really like it all that much. Here's the thing about the engineering kit. Is it has the same thing as the one heavy armor set, or further reduces recoil when crouching or prone by 30%, which is solid, and it increases an initial inventory and holding capacity of throwables by +2. Now, if you are going to be running certain throwables, that can be really good. I know it can be pretty good for impacts and things like that, because it allows you basically to take out certain groups of enemies, like things like fabricators or bug holes, a lot easier by having those extra two. Running that against maybe the bugs, and you're running, let's say, even the frags, even getting that +2 to those grenades is just so useful. I don't necessarily like this armor set too much. I don't necessarily need the recoil buff, but I feel like the fact that you get +2 to initial inventory and holding capacity of throwables, that can be so good. I don't necessarily think that's one of the better buffs, but I feel like that can be really useful if you aren't necessarily either the greatest with your grenades, or if you're running a higher difficulty, so there's a lot more holes or fabricators that you need to blow up. So that's what that's good for. Anyways, moving on to page 4. We've got Vitality Enhancement. This used to be one of the best boosters in the game. Do I feel like it's a solid booster in the game now? Yeah, to be honest, I think it's a pretty solid booster. I think it's got a lot of usefulness. Do I think it's like one of the best? It's one of the better ones, is the way I feel about it. Provides minor damage reduction from all sources for all health numbers. That does mean that it doesn't help with making sure that your limbs don't get crippled. Making sure that your limbs don't get crippled is one of the major things that can happen a lot. And that's what something like Vitality Enhancement would be really good for, right? Well, they removed that. From what I've been able to tell, and from what I've seen a lot of people test, is that it doesn't really help with not getting your limbs crippled. The minor damage reduction can mean you take maybe 1 or 2 more hits from very light enemies. Certain bigger enemies, you're still going to get one tap from. You're still going to get killed really fast from a lot of different things. But if you like the extra 1 or 2 hits from the smaller enemies, take this. It's not a bad choice. It's not a great choice. It's just solid. No one's going to complain if you bring Vitality Enhancement over like some other things. Now on to the Bone Snapper. This is a medium armor set. It's got the medkit passive, which means 2 extra initial inventory and holding capacity of stims, and increases stim effect duration by 2 seconds. Now, I don't necessarily think a lot of people realize how useful this is. Since you get those 2 extra stims, it allows you to get, that 2 extra seconds ends up going for a lot longer. That means 4 extra seconds of stims. Now, unless you're running Hellpod Space Optimization, then, if you're running Hellpod Space Optimization, you'd be able to get 6 stims starting out immediately. As soon as you spawn in, 6 stims. Amazing. 2 seconds on every single stim. That's 12 seconds of overall extra stim duration, purely by having this armor set on. That's amazing, personally. I don't necessarily like that it's a medium armor set, but I would 1000% run this all the time if it wasn't medium. If this was a light armor set, I would run this every single game, all the game long. Against Terminids, 1000%. The amount of times that you just take random damage, and the fact that it lasts for 2 extra seconds would mean it would be so much better against dragon roaches and things of that sort. It's just so good. Genuinely, this is amazing. One of the better armored passives. 1000%. Onto the breaker shotgun. Sorry. Yawn. My god. But, 330 damage, 16 capacity, 43 recoil, 300 fire rate, light armor pen. Here's the thing about the breaker. It's got that decent fire rate, it's got that decent damage. It's light armor pen, though. From a shotgun like this, that isn't necessarily like a pump shotgun, or it isn't like one of those other shotguns. It's not like the spray and pray, it's not like the slugger. It's I think, a worse version of the spray and pray, personally. Now, if we compare the stats from this to the spray and pray, which we will do right now, just because I feel like it, which we'll talk about this in a second, spray and pray is less damage. And so you might think, oh, that means that it's got to be worse, right? Since the shotguns are made for, killing things quick and stuff like that. Here's the difference between the breaker and the other, the spray and pray. Spray and Pray overall has more damage per mag. 16 compared to 26. That's 10 extra bullets in the mag. Now, I don't want to do the math here, but I'm pretty sure that adds up to more. 10 more bullets of 70 less damage is still going to end up doing a lot more in quicker situations. I don't know necessarily if that's overall more damage, but I know if you're trying to take out a group of enemies, you would want the Spray and Pray over the Breaker. More damage, more capacity, faster fire rate, still a light armor pen gun, so it's got the issues of the light armor pen, yes. But let's say you're running against automatons. Against automatons, it would still be good purely because of the fact that it's got that higher fire rate, so it's going to headshot quicker. Even though it has less damage, it still feels like a better gun due to the fact that it has that higher fire rate and it has that higher capacity. You can headshot more enemies in a group purely because of the higher capacity. It just feels better overall. Just overall feels better. So the Breaker, I feel like it can be used 1,000%, but the Spray and Pray, I feel, starting out just is better. Now we go on to impact grenades. These are a little interesting because I know a lot of my friends run these, and I know I ran them personally until I unlocked the pineapples from the Dust Devils warbond, which we will review on another day. Here's the thing about the impacts. They're heavy armor pen, explosive, obviously, 400 damage. If you throw every single impact you have at a Hulk, I don't believe it dies, because I've tested that before and it didn't die. There's not a lot of them. I think it's either 3 or 4 that you start out with. So here's the thing about the impacts. Destroying bug nests or destroying fabricators, they're pretty decent going, and, this isn't something that I'm rating it off of, but going and getting, like, super credit farming or, like, warbond farming and stuff like that, these are alright for those, since they just immediately open up the vaults and stuff like that immediately with one button. But, here's the thing. Even though they're a heavy armor pen, they don't usually kill those things that are heavy armor pen. They're good since they're impacts, so you don't have to count down the fuse time, but a lot of the grenades that have a fuse time, you can usually use to be better than this if you time them right. So, they're solid, they're pretty decent grenades, but only for certain circumstances. On to the Heroes of the Federation. Medium, armor set, democracy. Yawn again, Jesus Christ. Democracy protects armor passive. 50% chance to not die when taking lethal damage and prevents all damage from bleeding of chest hemorrhages. So now, the prevents all damage from bleeding of chest hemorrhages is amazing. Because, especially against terminids, you will get hemorrhages a lot. And so, the fact that you can just completely alleviate chest hemorrhages is amazing. 50% chance to not die when taking lethal damage, I feel, comes into consequences a lot less necessarily. Like, I personally would like an armor set that, pushes me to not get to that point where I would take that lethal damage in the first place. But just overall rating it, it's a decent passive. It's alright. Every 1 in 2 deaths, supposedly, based off of the way that would be, I think. That's how the math works out. And I've had my friend only uses the Democracy Protects armor passive. That's the only armor passive he runs. And from what I've been able to tell, it saved him a lot, but it just kind of depends on, I guess, if you're lucky or not. And I don't know. A lot of people, I don't think you should be relying on luck in order to tell whether or not you're going to survive something. But that's just me personally. LAS 5 Scythe. Ooh, this is an interesting gun for me. It's got a lot of weapon sway, and like at least if you're not ADSing, even if you're ADSing, it's still gonna be some help. But here's the thing about the scythe is it's got the beam, it's got the heat. You know, it's basically got infinite ammo as long as you don't overheat it. It's light armor pen though. The issue about light armor pen is that it's light armor pen. Excuse me, Jesus. You have to basically run something else alongside this, a support weapon or something like that. Because the main thing you're going to be running this against is automatons. Because a lot of the automatons can get headshotted. And usually the beam weapons are really, really good for headshotting. Fire limit's really fast. It's really good for doing a lot of damage really quickly. And for really quickly getting, those headshots and doing stuff like that. And doing things to those, like, those types. However, it is light armor pen. If you're going to be using this, I'd recommend running it with a support weapon that is heavy armor pen, or at least medium armor pen, or running it with stratagems that help pick up this weapon's weakness, which is, usually like, taking care of hulks or tanks or things of that sort. Against Illumina, it's fine. It's not like good, but it's not like bad. Against Terminates, it's fine, I guess. I don't know. It's iffy. It's really, really iffy because against certain enemies on either one of those sides, it can just not do shit. But then other times it does a lot of shit. So it's it's eh. Depends on what faction you're running it against. It depends on what you're bringing alongside it. Now we're on to the Battle Master. It's got fortified passive, so further reduces recoil when proning and gets a 50% resistance to explosive damage. I'm pretty sure this is literally the exact same as the one fucking heavy armor that we talked about before, the marksman. Yeah, this is literally the exact same. So it's just a recolor of that. If you like this one more, then you like this one more. If you don't, you don't. It's as simple as that. This is on page 6. So if you like the colors of this one more than the other one, then you like the colors on this one more than the other one. That's about it. But here we get the UAV recon boost, which for those who like to super credit grind and like to do things of that sort, this is probably the best booster for. In regular missions though, it's eh. Like be able to, get that God damn. Getting that extra radar range is somewhat helpful. Being able to see those question marks closer to you is helpful. Like sooner, I mean, is helpful. Things of that sort. It's good, but it's not great. If you're a super credit grinder and you want like a lot of warbond medals, you want a lot of super credits, things of that sort, this is amazing for that. Other than that, though, I can't really recommend this to you without like being like, yeah, I mean, you could use it, but I think it's great? Do I think it's really the most usable? But no. But it's more up to personal preference. If you really like that radar range and you use your radar that much and you need to like see all your minor POIs and all your other shit like that, all your other side objectives a lot sooner, things of that sort, then yes, this can be helpful. But for the most part, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this. Um, Now on to the Liberator Penetrator. Oh, where do I get started on this weapon? This is a hard thing to talk about because I know a lot of my friends love this gun. But here's the thing about the Liberator Penetrator is it's got horrible damage. I know a decent amount of people like it because it's a medium pen, but it's horrible damage. Genuinely 60 damage is horrendous. It's at a 45 round capacity and it's got a lot of fire rate, so it can be good. Don't get me wrong. Don't think I'm saying it's bad or anything because I'm not really. No, it can be used for a lot of things on this higher difficulties, especially if you're a lower level. and you need a decent, medium pen weapon, this can be good for you. But for the most part, I'd recommend avoiding this weapon if you can get anything else. Just really because that low damage just really shows, even on lower difficulties, man. It's so very obvious whether or not, you know, that low damage is going to affect you. Now on to page 7. We're on the we're on the stamina enhancement now. Stamina enhancement is one of the best boosters. It is amazing for, going and doing, like warbond metal grinding or super credit grinding, stuff like that. It's amazing for that. It's amazing for regular missions too, even because you just get around the map so much easier and so much faster. It allows you to do so much more stuff. I think this is one of the best boosters in the game. I personally would recommend running this every single chance you get. It's great. Now we're on to the counter sniper. How do I talk about this? Because I'm really favored towards this weapon. I love this weapon. This is one of my favorite marksman rifles in the game. But I understand that a lot of people don't necessarily like it. And I really understand that personally. Like I understand why. Um the main thing about this is that it's a medium armor pen. It's got 200 damage per shot, 15 round capacity, 350 fire rate. So it's somewhat decent fire rate, somewhat decent capacity, pretty decent damage, but it's a medium armor pen, which means that it can do so much for you. I think this is one of the best marksman rifles in the game. You have to use it to believe it, because looking at purely the stats, it doesn't seem like it's that amazing. Using it in actual play is just the medium armor pen is so helpful against the bugs, against the automatons, against the illuminate, all of that shit. It's amazing. The high damage, the low capacity, sadly, is still good, even with the low capacity. I think this is one of the better guns in the game. Comes with a good scope, all that stuff. It is solid. Trailblazer Scout. This is the first Scout armor I believe that you unlock, where it has the 50 armor rating, and it has maximum speed and maximum stamina region for a light armor, I believe. It's great. Um, it's got the same exact thing as the regular light armor, but it's got faster speed and faster stamina region. Um, the 20 extra armor rating on the other armor can be useful. I personally don't necessarily tell a difference between either of these all too much, but I feel like it's intelligible either way. Whether or not like you want to run one thing more than the other, that's up to personal preference really, but like I feel like both of them are good. If you want maybe an extra hit against certain enemies, run the other one. If you want, just faster speed and faster stamina regen, run this one. I don't think there's necessarily too big of a difference, but some people seem to think there is. So if you like the other one more than this one, then that's just kind of your own choice. So now we go on to the combat technician. This has the scout passive like the light armor sets. But it's a medium armor set. It being a medium armor set makes it not necessarily great for these passives. Not saying that it's bad, not necessarily saying that it's even, horrible or anything like that, because God, no, it's not. But the issue with the combat technician is since it's medium armor, you're not going to have that extra speed and stamina region that usually could be helpful with the scout armor. Since you have that extra speed in that stamina region, you can stealth around certain patrols a lot faster with the scout armor, since you don't necessarily have to be as, you don't have to necessarily like worry about your speed, being too slow to get around them in certain areas and things like that. Is it really tellable? I feel so, yes. But I feel like, if you like the scout passive but you like medium armor, this is obviously good. If you want a somewhat stealthy medium armor, this is probably a pretty good set for you. Just kind of depends on how the player works. Now on to the Slugger. I think one of the most disappointing weapons out of this whole entire fucking warbond. Um, the Slugger is not good. Doesn't do a lot of damage. It doesn't have a great fire rate. It's got the rounds reload, which is nice. It's got a 16 round capacity, which is not very good. It's just bad. It is overshadowed by the spray and pray in every single way. This is the weapon that I looked forward to the most in this warbond. When I was going through it, looking forward at it, looking through all the pages ahead of it, this was the weapon that I was looking forward to the most. And it's just not good. Not saying it's horrible, but it's not good. It's mid. It's mediocre. It's alright. There's a lot of stuff that should be better about it. It should feel better since it's a medium armor pen comparatively to light armor pen. The rounds reload should be better, but it's not. At least in my opinion. I don't think that this is a good shotgun. I will talk about the shotgun that I recommended instead of this in the next page. But for right now, this is a bad shotgun. Just plain and simple, in my opinion, it is bad. Now onto the smoke grenades. I mean, they're smoke grenades. They don't do any damage at all. A lot of people don't usually use grenades unless they've got like other war bonds for enemy damage anyways. So it's like, I don't know. It's fine, I guess. I guess technically speaking, it has more usability since you're not going to be using it for enemy damage. But I'm gonna be honest, I haven't used this all that much because it just genuinely seems that bad, and it feels that bad. So if you like it, you like it. If not, you don't. It's fine, I guess. It's not good, but it's passable. Now on to page 9. This is a page I've been looking forward to talking about the most because it's got my favorite weapon out of this whole warbond on it, and that is the Breaker Spray and Pray. Breaker Spray and Pray has so, so, so very much shit about it that is just so good. Genuinely, it feels amazing. That high ass fire rate is so useful. The high capacity is so good. The low damage, yes, it can be an issue, but it feels so good to run this goddamn gun. This is probably the weapon that I would recommend the most from this warbond. Onto the physician. This is the same exact one as the other medkit passive medium armor. Same thing. Muscle enhancer. This is one of the better boosters. A lot of people act like this isn't really good. A lot of people say it isn't. That is wrong. If you have like terrain that is hard to traverse, like a snow map or something like that, this is the best booster because you don't get slowed by the snow. You still can travel very easily. You travel basically at the same speed as you do on other planets, on like snowy planets. These lands are where it's harder to move. This is amazing. This is very underrated. On other planets, it's not good, but on planets where you will get slowed by like snow and things of that sort, this is amazing. Now this is the last part of the warbond, page 10. It's got the Democracy Protects armor passive, but on a medium armor, it's the same thing as the other one's just on a medium armor, so it's whatever. It's fine. I have used the increased reinforcement budget, even though I don't have it unlocked. I have had people use it in my game. If it basically gives you one extra reinforcement per person that's in your game. So if you have 4 people, it's going to give you 24 total reinforcements throughout the whole match. It's fine. It's not bad. It's not good. It's fine. I think it's better than a lot of people say it is, but if you don't like it, that's understandable. If you do like it, that's also understandable. It's pretty decent. Onto the Scorcher. Medium armor pen explosive, 200 damage, and a 350 fire rate. Ooh, the Scorcher. I thought for a while that it was one of the better weapons against Determinants, and as I've started to use it more, I've kind of realized its downsides. It's got it's very lackluster damage-wise when you truly use it and truly think about it. It feels not good. It does not feel very great. Damage isn't high enough to where it like warrants using it. The splash damage will do so much damage to you a lot. You will get swarmed by the Terminids way too easy. It's got a lot of issues. But if you want to use a splash damage medium pen weapon, then this is the one for you. I feel like it can be good, used in the right situation, yes. But for the most part, this is not going to be the best gun in the game, or some gun that you're going to want to run a lot. But that's my review of the Star Warbond, Helldivers, mobilize. Let me know what you think about the video. Like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.